everyone, it's Gina from orchidandopal.com, and today I'm back with a tutorial for these beaded beads that I included in a recent necklace that I made from the contents of the September 2022 bargain bead box subscription. I shared this necklace in the previous finished jewelry update, and I promised you that I would be back and show you how I made these beaded beads specifically. And we're going to do that by making a bead woven component first, and then we are going to feed that onto some wire and create the loops on either side so they'll be ready to connect in any way you like to a necklace such as the one I have here. Down below the video, I will leave links to very similar products that I'm using today. A lot of things you can find actually at bbcraft.com, and I have a coupon code for them, which is OPAL5, OPAL5, and that will save you $5 off a purchase of $40 or more, and they also offer free international shipping on most orders over $25. The rose quartz rondelles and the small crystal rondelles, as well as the bead caps, all came in the subscription box, and these are the materials that inspired me to come up with this design. Also, be sure to check out that unboxing if you'd like to find out more about the bargain bead box. It's one that I highly recommend, and I'll leave the link to that as well as a coupon code that I have for that subscription right down below. We're going to make one beaded bead together today. You see the 3 examples that I have sitting down there separate and ready to go into another piece. And for the bead woven part, I'm going to be using a size 11 beading needle and some 6-pound test Fireline beading thread. You'll want to have about 4 feet of beading thread per each of these beaded beads just to be on the safe side. And after you've gathered up all your materials, added your thread to your beading needle, we can go ahead and jump into this tutorial. To begin, take your needle and thread 4 of your rondelle beads onto your beading thread and pull them down to the tail thread portion. Leave yourself a 4 to 6 inch tail. You'll be weaving that in just a little bit. And at this point, take your needle and sew directly through all 4 of those beads again in that same direction. And you're going to start to pull these into a loop. And go ahead and sew through 1 more of the beads. And by the way, I'm using the black beading thread because it's easier to see, but using these lighter color beads, probably better to use a white or a light color beading thread if you have it. Now that you have your 4 beads sitting like this, take your beading needle and sew underneath the thread bridge that you get to next to make a loop with your thread, and then sew directly through the loop. We're making a 1/2 hitch knot right there that will pull together. And then you can sew directly through your next rondelle bead. At this point, I'm going to put a needle on my tail thread and I'm going to weave this back in. We'll do that together. Let me just add that needle and I'll be right back. All right, so with the needle on the tail thread now, I'm actually going to go in the other direction, go through the thread bridge right before that, tie a 1/2 hitch knot, go through the next rondelle. I'm going to tie another 1/2 hitch knot in this section. Go through the next bead, and I'm going to catch the working thread and that thread bridge this time and make another 1/2 hitch knot right here, and then just sew through a couple more of your beads. And now we can trim off the excess. And what that did was get us off to a sturdy start with those 4 beads and got rid of our tail thread for us. Right now I'm coming out of this bead and we're going to be adding in one of these smaller crystal rondelles in between each of the 2 gemstone crystals. So picked up a rondelle, going through the next bead, picking up a rondelle and going through the next bead, and repeat that 2 more times so you have 1 in each of those sections. And now sew around all of those beads one more time. So make sure you grab those crystal rondelles, go through the gemstone rondelles as well, and just go a little bit past where you started. This is just going to keep the center section nice and strong and create that solid foundation with us reinforcing our thread. Now we can work with our seed beads, and I'm coming out of a gemstone rondelle. I'm going to pick up 5 11-0 seed beads and then sew directly into the next gemstone rondelle, skipping over the crystal. And do that all the way around. Now with my thread coming out of the rose quartz right there, I'm going to sew directly through the next 3 11-0 seed beads. Now coming out of that one that's in the center of that cluster of 5, pick up 3 seed beads and sew through the third or the middle seed bead in the next section. And we're going to start gathering these at the top of the rose quartz beads. We're going to do this all the way around, picking up another 3 seed beads. Now sew through the third or the center seed bead in the next cluster and pull, and we'll tighten this up as we go. We'll sew around them again to reinforce this section, but right now just get those in place. So another 3 and sew through that third seed bead in the next section, pull and pick up another 3. And now we're back at that first group again, and we'll go through that same center seed bead. Then pull that together and you should have something like this, forming this sort of diamond shape on the top of the rondelles. And now just go through all those seed beads at the top at least one more time to reinforce that section and to bring all those together. Go through the new 3 seed beads you added plus that center seed bead in each corner. Now, once you've done that and you're coming out a seed bead at the corner, then proceed down through the next 2 seed beads and follow your thread path through the next quartz rondelle that you get to. And now we're going to work on the other side. So like we did before, we'll pick up 5 of our seed beads and sew through the next rose quartz bead. And do that all the way around, picking up 5, sewing through the next, we have 1 more to go. All right, and just like we did before, we're going to sew through the next 3 11-0 seed beads and gather those together on the top. So pick up 3 new seed beads and then sew through the center seed bead in the next section and repeat that 3 more times. Now going back through that 3rd seed bead where we started to bring all these together. And then we'll sew around this diamond shape of seed beads at least 1 more time to reinforce this section on the other side of our piece. Once that's reinforced, you can then go through the next 2 seed beads you get that are going towards the side of your piece. And this is where we're going to add 3 seed beads in between each of these groups on the side. So pick up 3 new seed beads. Then sew through the next 2 on the other side. Sew through the seed bead at the corner. And up through the next 2 seed beads. Pick up 3 new seed beads and sew through the 2 on the other side. Sew through the one on this corner. And then sew through the next 3 seed beads again. Skip the 4th one or the one in the middle, and then sew through the next 3 on the other side. And use your needle, and you can just pop that out if you need to. That's going to make that one come out to a little bit more of a point. And then sew through the bead on the corner. Sew through the next 3 seed beads on this side. Once again, skip the 4th one and sew through the next 3. That one's sticking out. And then sew through the one on the corner. And proceed to your next section. So sew through the next 3 seed beads, the one on the corner there, and do the same thing in this section. So once again, we'll pick up 3 new seed beads, sew down through those next 2, sew directly through the one on the corner, down through the next 2, pick up 3 more seed beads, sew through the next 2, sew through the bead on the corner, this time up through the next 3, skip the 4th one and sew through the next 3, sew through the seed bead on the corner, and just keep turning this as you go. And now we'll complete this side by going through those next 3, skipping the 4th one, and sewing through the next 3. And just getting those beads to pop out like that. And then we proceed to the next section, sewing through the bead on the corner, and then the next 3 and the one on this corner, and up through these next 2 to position us to be ready to complete the next section. So we have 2 more to do, and in the end, this is what they're going to look like. So I'm going to complete the other 2 off camera and then meet you right back. So now you should have something that looks like this, and your piece should feel pretty secure and tight. If it doesn't, if it feels loose at all, just go through the beads again, following your thread path to tighten that up. And also just get those beads at the corner, make sure they're sticking out. And then we can go underneath our thread bridge that we get to next and tie a 1/2 hitch knot there and make a couple more 1/2 hitch knots because we are done with the bead weaving portion of this beaded bead. So make a couple more knots to secure your thread before you trim off the excess. Make one more right here. And also through a few more beads. And then we'll trim that off. And we're ready to add that to our piece of wire and make these beaded links. Now I'm using some 18 or 20 gauge antique copper colored jewelry wire. This happens to be by the Benny Create brand that you can find at BB Craft, and I'll link to that below, of course. And I've trimmed off with my wire cutters approximately 4 or 5 inches of wire, which will be plenty for you to use without wasting too much to make each of these links. Now bring in your round nose pliers and come about an inch or an inch and a quarter down from the top and bend your wire at a 90-degree angle. Now give that a turn and clamp that gently with your round nose pliers again, and then just gently wrap that shorter piece of wire around that top curved portion of your pliers and continue to bring that shorter portion over to the side. Now place that loop on one side of your pliers, and with another pair, such as a pair of chain nose, just grab that shorter piece and wrap that around the longer piece a couple of times. And then you can trim the excess if you have any, just making a couple little loops right there. And I'll just tuck in that extra little piece of wire so it's not sticking out. Now feed on one of your gemstone rondelles, followed by a bead cap facing down toward the rondelle. Then add on your new beaded bead. Add on another bead cap, this time in the opposite direction, and your next gemstone rondelle. So you have something like this, and you just need to complete the loop on the other side. So you'll take your pliers and just squeeze right there toward the top. Make a 90-degree angle with your wire. Shift your pliers upright and gently bend the wire around the curved portion of your pliers. Bringing that around just like this. Then I have that loop gripped in one pair of pliers, the other one is on this open working piece. And we can just wind that one around the other side a couple of times. Trim off your excess, and then fold that remaining little piece and tuck it in so it's not sticking out. And then I just like to take this in both pliers and straighten out the loop so they're going in the same direction. And that's how you complete your beaded bead, and also add the wire loops to each side so you can incorporate that into a necklace. So that wraps up today's tutorial. I hope you found this one fun and easy to follow. Feel free to leave me a comment down below. Let me know if you decide to give this a try, or if you plan to, or anything else you'd like to say. Don't forget to check down below the video in the description section for the links to similar products, as well as the link to BB Craft and that coupon code, which will save you $5 off a $40 purchase, which is Opal5, and for information regarding the bargain bead box if you'd like to check that out and haven't already. I want to thank you all so much for being here. I always love having you. You can go ahead and give the video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Share the video with your other beading friends, and also be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because there's always much more beading fun to come. That's all I have this time. I will see you all again real soon. Until next time, I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day, and as always, happy beading.